we are in for a very crazy week of weather this Thanksgiving. What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. All right, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We actually have a lot to discuss with you today. We have what is, I would describe, a rather historic type of situation that we have unfolding this week. We have a polar vortex, or the start of a polar vortex, that's going to be coming down from the coast of Canada, and we're going to see a couple of snowstorms start to develop. On top of that, we're also watching some tropical development potentially happening in parts of the Caribbean Sea starting later this week as well. So we have a lot that we're going to be talking to you about today. We're going to start with the winter weather stuff, and then we're going to get to the tropical stuff at the second half of the video. So that way we cover both our bases, and that way we can get everything talked about. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and dive right into it right here. Starting off with the winter weather and the polar vortex for a lot of you tuning in for Thanksgiving week travels, let's go ahead and get right into it. It is currently Sunday, November 23rd, and here's the situation that we have for you right here. I have the GFS run pulled up for you right here, mainly just to give you a timetable as to what may be happening. Please do keep in mind a lot of these model runs are still pretty variable. Take them with a grain of salt. We'll keep you updated on them as time goes on, but they have been fairly consistent in terms of the amount of snowstorms we might be getting. So here's what we got happening starting tomorrow. We have an Alberta clipper that's going to be moving in through parts of Montana and the upper Midwest, especially in the Dakotas and the Great Plains right here, producing some pretty heavy snowfall by Tuesday into parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and then the upper peninsula of Michigan. Maybe even some parts of lower Michigan could see some snowfall as well going into Wednesday. That's going to be causing some travel problems right there. And then as we get to Thanksgiving Day, we do start seeing this clipper move out, and then you see another snowstorm start to develop. Actually, we have another low pressure system, as a matter of fact, too, developing in parts of Colorado in the next few days after that. So that's what we got going on right here. We have this pressure system bombing out starting on Black Friday right here, and then we start seeing some pretty significant snowfall for parts of the upper Midwest, once again going all the way down to Iowa and even northwestern Illinois as this snowstorm starts to really run through on Saturday right now. This is now 6 days out, so this is now Saturday at this point. Before, when we were looking at these models, we could take them with more of a grain of salt as there was a lot of variability with them. Now we can take a look at them and go, okay, this has some more merit to it because now it's closer out, it's been somewhat consistent, and it's a scenario that we're going to want to watch out for down the line for areas down in Chicago, especially for Thanksgiving weekend commutes. You're going to want to pay very close attention to it, especially Black Friday weekend as well. I know people are going to be shopping as well, but much of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and even a lot of Michigan right here is going to get more snowfall right here. So if you're in Detroit, if you're in Lansing, if you're anywhere in the upper and lower peninsula of Michigan, you're going to want to watch out for that as well. We'll continue to keep you updated on that as well. Keep in mind, this is just the GFS right here. We're going to look at other runs as well to kind of give you an indication as to what may be happening. And then on the 30th, we have another snowstorm, another snow system, a Colorado low rather, building up in the mountains right here, building up over here. Colorado low is pretty much a low pressure system that kind of develops off the lee of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. It's pretty self-explanatory right there. Pressure of 990 millibars, by the way. So this is a pretty strong snowstorm, a pretty strong winter storm, rather, starting on December 1st, going into the 2nd. You start seeing Minnesota, Wisconsin, parts of the Great Plains getting some snowfall. And then you have this kind of develop near the back end right here. So we have multiple areas pretty much until December 4th of snowfall for much of the United States, particularly in the Midwest, particularly in the northeastern U.S. as well, and in the mountains, and in the potentially even in the panhandle of Texas and parts of Oklahoma too. We're going to want to watch out for that and see how that will pan out moving forward. But by and large, a very active weather week in terms of winter weather. And then we have this whole system right here, that this tropical cyclone that we're going to be watching moving on as well. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, but based on everything we're seeing right now, we have quite a bit of weather that's going to be going on. On top of that, you're going to start seeing your temperatures across much of the United States plummeting during the week as well. As you start to look at it, starting around the 26th of November, this is Wednesday, you start seeing some Arctic air from Canada moving into parts of the U.S., mainly staying concentrated in parts of the Great Plains, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and those areas as well. But you do start seeing a lot of these cold temperatures, rather, especially in the morning of Black Friday across parts of Wisconsin, Michigan, and even in parts of the Appalachians in northeastern United States. That remains very prevalent going forward. And then as you get to Saturday, you see more of this Arctic air pushing into the mountain regions and pushing closer and closer to the and deeper down south in the United States. So that's something you're going to want to pay attention to going into Sunday. Your temperatures potentially in single digits for some regions if the GFS holds right here. We'll have to see how that pans out, but ultimately this is just the start of some pretty interesting weather going on. And then as you get to the 1st of December, look at this. You see this massive polar vortex just pushing through much of the United States, much of the mountain regions right here through Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, into parts of Kansas as well. You look at this gradient right here. In Springfield, Missouri, for example, you're looking at a 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Going into parts of Salina, Kansas, you're at 9. So that is a very powerful cold front that's going to be generated by that snow system that we were talking about on December 2nd and 3rd. A very powerful cold front that's going to be generated from this as well. That's actually going to potentially cause some severe weather. As a matter of fact, the synoptic conditions definitely seem pretty favorable for that, so we'll have to watch out for that as well. But look at this: by December 3rd, you're looking at before this is on December 2nd. This is the afternoon of the 2nd. You're looking at 67 degrees, potentially 71 in St. Louis. Look at where it is now. By 12Z, which is about 6 a.m., it plummets to 20 degrees, and then as we get to the 6 a.m. on the 4th of December, that's Thursday, it's going to remain around 21 degrees. This is going to be a very powerful polar vortex that moves through parts of the U.S. right here. So after Thanksgiving week, the crazy weather does not stop there. It really starts to get cold across much of the U.S., even going all the way down to Texas, down to parts of the South. If this model holds, we're going to want to see how realistic this will be, but this polar vortex is not going to be going away anytime soon. It's actually going to be in parts of the U.S. It's going to be very cold, at least relatively speaking, for much of the runtime as well on this model. So you're going to want to keep a very close eye and see how this will pan out. But your temperatures are going to plummet starting the last couple of days in November, going into early December as well. Let's go ahead now and take a quick look at snow accumulations as well, just to kind of give you an idea of what may be happening for these snowstorms. The first system, which is the Alberta Clipper type system, not going to really see that much happening. You're going to see probably a good maybe 4 to 6 inches of snow for parts of the Midwest that do get it. Although Lake Superior could produce some pretty significant lake effect up there and produce some heavy snowfall, maybe up to a foot, according to the GFS right here. And then as we get to the Black Friday and Saturday system, look at this according to the GFS. This is by November 30th right here, and this is for much of the Midwest. We're going to go ahead and zoom in on this because this is the epicenter of what may be going on. Look at this. 8 inches in Chicago, just outside of Chicago, 10 inches potentially. In parts of Milwaukee, it varies between 6 and 8 inches of snow. For parts of Michigan as well, mainly along the coastal areas of Lake Huron, maybe Lake Erie as well, not getting as much snowfall right there. But interior Michigan, interior the lower peninsula of Michigan, 6 inches of snow, 6 to 9 inches of snow generally. That is quite a lot for you guys right there that we're going to want to pay attention to. And it continues all the way through northwest Indiana, and you still potentially could see some more lake effect on top of that as well. That is going to be a very interesting snow setup for a lot of people, for millions of people in the Midwest starting around that time. And then as we get to the rest of the runtime as well, you have another snow system developing. This is that Colorado low, producing a lot of snowfall for a lot of regions in the Great Plains, the upper Midwest, especially the mountains as well. Although, while I will say the GFS may be overdoing it, like some areas are getting 4 feet of snow by the end of this run, I personally think that's quite a lot. I don't think that's going to happen unless we see a massive bombing out situation with one of the cyclones that we're going to be seeing with this. But by and large, we're seeing quite a lot of snowfall, at least by the end of this GFS run. By December 9th, you're looking at quite a bit of snowfall. Now, by this point, this is more fantasy land. At this current point, please do keep that in mind. We do have another system coming in on the 6th of December. This is 300 plus hours out. Take that with a massive grain of salt right there. We'll keep you updated on that, but for right now, that's your situation you're dealing with. And then we'll go ahead and also, just for compare and contrast, we'll show you the European as well, just to kind of give you an idea of how that's favoring as well. Similar situation to the GFS with the Clipper, and then the Midwestern system as well. The European actually does have snowfall happening for much of the Midwest on the 30th, and then another round of it right after that on the 1st and the 2nd of December, going into the 3rd right there. The European is actually really wanting a lot of snowfall for much of the Midwest right here. Taking a quick look at this, by the time we get to December 6th, I don't think we're going to see 20 inches of snow in Michigan, but look at this. We're looking at over a foot of snow in Iowa, parts of northern Illinois, Peoria, north, all the way to Chicago, northwest Indiana, Milwaukee, Wisconsin as well. The European is actually somewhat more aggressive than the GFS in the more populated areas, and even in the northeastern United States as well. We're going to want to pay attention to that as well. And by the time we end the run, both of these runs are very, very aggressive with snowfall totals, and that is something that you're going to want to watch out for, and we'll keep you updated on that, as well as those polar vortex temperatures as well. But another thing we're going to be paying attention to around this time is the potential for tropical development. Yes, you heard that right. Tropical development is also possible for parts of the United States as well. That could see some impact, particularly around Florida. We don't know all the nooks and crannies around it just yet, but I do want to spend the next half of this video talking about that possibility as well, because we're looking at tropical development. We've been looking at the models. Some of the operational models have gotten on board with it. We're going to need to pay attention to it as time continues to go on. We talked more about the conditions yesterday. We're going to give a general rundown as to those updates and to see how the conditions are looking at this current point. So we'll go ahead and start, and we'll get our start on Weather Nerds right here, taking a quick gander at that. We are zoomed in to where we need to be zoomed in. We'll go ahead and move the screen over this way just to show you what we're looking at, and I will move my camera over as well. And this is the situation that we're looking at right now. Here's the GENC models, one of the AI runs we have for you right here. We're going to back this up to about 8 days out, just to kind of give you a general start of what's going on. Here's what we have for you, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Taking a quick gander at this, you start seeing a lot of ensembles popping up off the coast of Nicaragua right here, starting around December 1st. I'm seeing, and then these low pressure systems actually are quite powerful, as a matter of fact. 1005, 1006, 1006 already in the early stages of development. And then as we get to 9 days out, which is the 2nd of December, you start seeing a lot more strength with this as well. Looking at this 999, 1000, 1001, that is strong tropical storm conditions rather. Taking a quick gander at those. And then you see 992, 995, and a lot of other ensembles start popping up as well. What I do find interesting is more of them have shifted a bit further to the west, potentially hugging the coast of Central America and crashing into the Yucatan Peninsula. And then as we start to see right here, we're going to start seeing that turn. And the reason we're going to start to see that turn to the east is because that cold front that we noticed on December 3rd, that cold front that was pretty much driving temperatures from 70 degrees to 20 in the span of 18 hours, that cold front is going to extend all the way to the Gulf region, and that's going to push that system further to the east and drive it potentially towards Florida. So that's a thing that we're going to want to watch and want to pay attention to as well. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and shift over to some operational forecasts as well. Let's go ahead and take a quick gander at that. Here is the GFS right here. We'll start with that, and then we'll look at some other models just to give you a general idea as to what may be happening. So starting off with the GFS, I know it's the GFS, but we use this in the winter weather section of it just to give you a time frame. We're going to use it here just for continuity reasons, as well as just to give some context to what's going on. But the GFS has been very aggressive with this. The GFS wants a potentially strong hurricane to happen in the Caribbean Sea, make landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula, and then potentially head towards Florida right there as it battles some dry air, potentially wind shear, and some cooler waters as well by the time we get to December 6th. I'm going to be brutally honest when I tell you guys this. We are not going to be seeing a hurricane like this. I don't think we're going to be seeing that. At most, it's going to be tropical storm strength unless something unexpected happens. I do not think we're going to be seeing a borderline major hurricane this late in the season happening in the Caribbean. If it does, I will be absolutely stunned if it does, and I will say that for you for sure. But we do have that from the GFS. Let's see what the European AI model is going for as well, just to kind of give a general gist as to what may be happening. I know the AI models really love this system as well going into this. The European AI model, it's not as concise, but it does show maybe some sort of vorticity happening. Matter of fact, I can pull up the lower dynamics and show you the 850 millibar Vorten wind. You do have some stronger vorticity right here, although it does end up crashing into Nicaragua right here, potentially hitting that region as well. So that's something that we're also going to have to take into account. The fact that this is developing potentially closer to land than what we would see normally, that's some factors that we'd have to watch and pay attention to as well. But the AI ensembles definitely are loving this system, even still at this current point. Here's the Canadian run. Canadian run doesn't particularly go out far enough to give you an idea of what may be happening. Taking a quick look at the European as well. Not sure what the European is doing with this system. Maybe showing a little bit popping up here and there, but it's not particularly on board. It's mainly been the ensemble so far. But what we can show you is the conditions that the system may be moving through. Starting off with the wind shear, we need to talk about the wind shear because in order for tropical development to happen, you need warm water, wind shear, low wind shear, and plenty of moisture. We're taking a look at the wind shear. We looked at the warm waters, temperatures, and the OHC yesterday. We don't need to rehash that. But looking at the wind shear values, for the next 3 to 4 days, you're looking at a very large amount of wind shear across much of the Atlantic. I'm not particularly too excited about this right here, at least until about 6 days out. You do start seeing some weakening of the wind shear across parts of the Caribbean as the system is supposed to start getting its act together by around December 1st. You'd also start seeing a lot less wind shear really start to fan up across much of the Gulf region as well. You're going to want to pay attention to that as well. So there is a window, like we talked about in yesterday's video, of maybe about, I would say, what am I thinking? Maybe 2 to 3 days or so where if this system does develop, it'll have pretty good conditions to do so until the wind shear starts to get its act back together and then starts to kind of pretty much shear the Atlantic for the rest of the season. And then we look for 2026. So that's what your shear forecast is looking like. Moisture component to all of this, the main thing I'm skeptical about right now is this is going to likely be battling a lot of dry air with the exception of the southwestern Caribbean. Starting around November 28th, you have some moist air actually starting to potentially pop right here, but compared to, actually I want to look at the 0Z Euro from yesterday a little bit. Yeah, you're looking at a little bit more dry air across much of the tropics at this current point. You're going to be battling a lot of dry air moving forward, especially as we get to the 3rd December and onward. So as long as the system can produce some decent convection, I would say it has an okay chance of doing it. Now, am I saying that we're looking at tropical development? Am I saying it's set in stone? No. But what I am saying is we're looking at a very crazy and potentially historic week of weather ahead for the United States, and we'll keep you updated on it here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.